Friends, welcome to our today's session. This is our sixth session on income from house property, and many things we have covered. Right, in the previous class, we have understood that we can classify the house properties into seven categories. Into six categories, and how to compute income under different heads we had discussed in the previous class. We'll quickly recapitulate that part, then we'll move ahead. Basic condition you already know. That means when you compute income from house property, two broad steps are involved. One is computation of gross annual value, then computation of net annual value. How we compute gross annual value? We need to compute what is the reasonable expected rent or reasonable rent. Okay, reasonable rent is the rent which the property is reasonably expected to fetch. And in case it is a let out property and it's not vacant, that means throughout the year it is let out, and in that situation actual rent is more than the reasonable rent, then we need to take actual rent to compute gross annual value. But in case due to vacancy actual rent is less than the reasonable rent, then actual rent has to be taken as gross annual value. Okay, this concept we have already understood. Okay, so the step here is that compute reasonable expected rent, compute rent actually received or receivable, whichever is higher you have to take. And you also know there is an upper cap. This that means it should not upper cap means before that when computing the reasonable rent, we need to arrive at we need to know what is the municipal valuation if it is available, or fair rent whichever is higher. Municipal valuation, fair rent whichever is higher, that will be taken as reasonable rent, but subject to a maximum limit of standard rent. Okay, then after that, that needs to be compared with the actual rent. Again we have to take higher figure. This concept we have discussed and questions we have solved. Pre-construction period, post-construction period interest also we had discussed in our earlier classes. You already know pre-construction period interest has to be uh, that means one can get that deduction in 5 equal installments, and post-construction period interest in every year one can get that deduction. Yeah, and we also know that we can classify our house properties like this: self-occupied house property, let-out house property, deemed to be let-out house property, unoccupied house property, partly self-occupied and partly let-out house property, and also property which is held as stock in trade. All this concept we have discussed. Okay, how to know? And self-occupied house property, the annual value shall be nil, right? Annual value shall be nil. There should be no standard deduction, and interest on borrowed capital can be claimed, but maximum up to how much? Can anyone tell me interest on borrowed capital in case of self-occupied house property? How much interest can be claimed? Are you getting me?
So 2 lakhs.
Yeah, maximum up to 2 lakh. Okay, maximum up to 2 lakh. Okay, and in certain cases it is 30,000. We have discussed in our previous classes. These are some questions we had solved. Right, how to treat the joint home loans, that also I had explained. And in case of let out property, there are two deductions. Standard deduction is allowed here. Interest on borrowed capital without any ceiling, it is allowed. There is no limit. Okay, this concept also we had discussed in our previous class. What is deemed to be let out property, that also we had discussed. If assessee is having more than two self-occupied houses, any two can be treated as self-occupied, and other houses are treated as deemed to be let out house. Okay, assessee may choose it. Okay, it is assessee's choice which two we are treated as self-occupied house property. Okay, so and others will be treated as deemed to be let out house property. Deemed to be let out house means once they are deemed to be let out house, they will be treated just like a let out house property. This concept we have discussed. Unoccupied house property means uh, that is the property is meant for self-occupied, but because of occupation, because of employment, assessee is unable to occupy that thing. Okay, it cannot be occupied because of this owner's employment, business, profession. And assessee is staying in a different place in a building which is not belonging to him. That property will be treated as unoccupied house property or vacant house property. Okay, and treatment will be almost similar to self-occupied house property. This concept also we have discussed. Okay, how to treat a partly self-occupied house property and partly let out house property, that also we know. And when you coming to this partly self-occupied house property, partly let out property, partly means it can be area wise partly. Let us say this is the entire house, a portion of the house can be self-occupied, portion can be let out. That is called partly self-occupied house. Or time wise means a house is there, maybe it is 6 months, it is self-occupied, 6 months it is let out. That is also time wise, partly self-occupied, partly let out. Or it can be area wise or time wise. Area wise, time wise means you can have a look at this picture. This is the house. Let's say this portion is self-occupied, this portion is let out, but again let out portion is self-occupied for 3 months and let out for 9 months. So it is area wise as well as time wise, partly self-occupied, partly let out. Treatment will be different. Area wise, if it is partly self-occupied and partly let out, as we have discussed earlier, it will be treated just like two separate houses. Okay, income needs to be computed separately. Detailed steps we have already discussed earlier. Okay, if it is time wise partly self-occupied and time wise partly let out, okay, it shall be treated as if it is a let out house. Okay, that also we have discussed. And if it is area wise as well as time wise, so both the features of area wise and time wise shall be applied. That means same process has to be followed. Okay. Now the last kind of house, that is house property, which is held as stock in trade. So the annual value of the house property, which is held as stock in trade, shall be treated as income from house property. But this head it will be treated. Okay. And here, as you know, we have already discussed this thing. In this case, the annual value of the property shall be treated as nil for 2 years from the end of the financial year in which certificate of completion of construction of property is obtained. That means after construction of the property for 2 years, annual value can be taken as nil if the house property is kept as stock. Okay, these are the treatment for 6 different categories of houses which you have discussed in your previous sessions. Right? You can check the videos also; they are also uploaded for you. Now, property situated outside India. So there is a possibility that property might be situated outside India. Okay, in that case, the local authority taxes are also deductible. You know, local authority taxes, what stage it is deductible? At the gross annual value, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Is it not? So the gross annual value level, we deduct the local authority tax. So taxes which are imposed by foreign local authorities are also deductible. This concept we have to deduct. At this stage, if you summarize the distance what we have learned here, this chart explains that. Right. First, you know gross annual value, how to compute you already know. From the gross annual value, municipality taxes needs to be deducted, you can arrive at the net annual value. From the net annual value, if the property is let out, then there is a standard deduction, 30%. Okay. On interest on borrowed capital, without any ceiling, it is fully allowed. Okay, interest on borrowed capital. Okay, in case of let out property, deemed to be let out property, it is fully allowed. But as I had told you earlier also, that in a particular year, you can claim interest under this under interest and borrowed capital is maximum up to 2 lakh rupees. That means if higher amount is allowed, that can be carried forward and set up in subsequent years. Okay, this concept you need to keep in mind. If this self-occupied house property, then this standard deduction is not allowed. Interest on borrowed capital is allowed, but there is a ceiling. Ceiling is certain situation it is 30,000, certain situation it is 2 lakh rupees, we have already discussed. Up to 2 lakh rupees, we know that thing, but certain conditions needs to be complied upon. And maximum for 2 houses, uh, one can claim maximum 2 houses as self-occupied house. Okay, so this is the concept of deduction. Yeah, now few relevant points very connected to this head income from house property we are going to discuss now. First of all, unrealized rent. Okay, if unrealized rent is subsequently realized, there is a possibility that the owner of the house has not realized rent, but subsequently he is realizing the amount. Okay, so the amount so realized shall be deemed to the income under the head income from house, right? And accordingly, it will be charged in the previous year when such rent is realized. And this is also true even if assessee is no more the owner of the house. That means there is a possibility that assessee was the owner of the house and subsequently he has sold the house, and after that he realized the unrealized rent. In that case also, assessee can uh, that income which is realized, that will be taxable under the head income from house property, even if assessee is not the one. Okay, so whether or not assessee is the owner of that property in that previous year, when realization happens, income will be still chargeable under that income from house property. When that income will be included, deduction of 30% is allowed, right? So as usual, similar to the deduction which are allowed to standard deduction. So section 25A2 provides a deduction of 30% of arrears of rent on unrealized rent realized subsequently by the assessor. 30% deduction is allowed. Okay, did you understand this concept? Unrealized rent.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. When subsequently it is realized, it has to be taxed under the head income from house property, even if assessee is not the owner of that house, and deduction of 30% is allowed. That's a very simple section. Now, section 26. We'll come to now section 26. This talks about the co-ownership in the property. There are many properties which are co-owned. In that situation, how to deal with this? Where the property is owned by 2 or more persons, and the shares are definite and ascertainable. Right? Shares are definite and ascertainable means it is clearly specified and clearly some evidence is available about ownership. That means someone might be 50% owner, another person might be 50% owner, or ownership might be in the ratio of, let us say, 40%, 60%. Okay, if this kind of documents are there, that means it is definite and ascertainable. If it is clearly and ascertainable, the income from such property cannot be taxed, or that those persons who are the owners, that cannot be taxed as an AOP. AOP means, you can tell me what is an AOP?
Association of
Association of
person.
persons. So they will not be treated as AOP, rather they will be treated as two separate owners. Okay. If it is not ascertainable, then it is joint property, then one can treat it like AOP. Right? And the share of income of each such co-owner shall be determined in accordance with section 22 to 25. So the share of income needs to be distributed among them with certain provision. We'll be discussing how to distribute. Okay. That means what we learned just now, that if the shares are definite and ascertainable, they have to be taxed in the hands of each co-owner as if they are the separate co-owners. Okay. And that income needs to be distributed. Now let us see how to deal with that situation when property is owned by co-owners and it is self-occupied. That means there are two people who are jointly owning the property. Two or more than people, or more than two also have two or more people, and property is self-occupied. Okay, when property is self-occupied, then each of the co-owner is self-occupied by each of the co-owner. The annual value of the property of each co-owner shall be nil. Okay, self-occupied house property annual value is nil or not?
Yes, sir.
It is nil. And in self-occupied house property, you know, there is only one deduction which is allowed, that is interest on borrowed capital. That too up to 2 lakh rupees, and in some institution 30,000. The same thing is applicable to both the co-owners. That means for each co-owner, the annual value shall be nil, and each co-owner is also entitled to a deduction of 2 lakh or 30,000 as the case may be. Okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, understood. So each co-owner can show annual value nil and deduction up to 2 lakh, which you can do. Okay, right? This part is clear. Now, one more additional point. Little complex thing. Let us understand this thing. However, the aggregate deduction of interest to each co-owner in respect of interest payable on loan for the co-owned house property, and interest, if any, payable or loan taken for another self-acquired house property owned by him cannot exceed 30,000 or 2 lakh rupees as the case may be. So let us try to understand this thing. This appears to be little confusing for you, but don't worry. What this provision says, that aggregate deduction of each co-owner should not exceed rupees 2 lakh rupees or 30,000 as the case may be. What does it mean? That means if the co-owner owns another self-occupied house property, then aggregate interest from the co-owned property and the other self-occupied house property cannot exceed 30,000 rupees or 2 lakh rupees. That means each co-owner maximum can claim 30,000 rupees, or maximum can claim 2 lakh rupees, or where applicable 30,000 rupees. All the houses taken together, that means this co-owned house plus other self-occupied, if any, everything taken together, maximum deduction can be 2 lakh rupees, and in certain situation 30,000 rupees. Okay, are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Which case is it 30,000 rupees, sir? In under which cases will it be 30,000?
Which cases it will be 30,000? Okay, okay. We have to go back. We have discussed this thing earlier. I am explaining you once again for clarifying other persons also. Let me one second. You also need to check our previous videos. There it has been explained clearly, but for the benefit of others, give me just 1 minute. I am discussing this thing. When you discuss the self-occupied house property, I had told you this thing. Interest is 2 lakh rupees. Interest maximum amount, how much? Can you read it here? 2 lakh rupees shall be allowed.
2 lakh rupees, yes,
2
sir.
lakh rupees shall be allowed, but these are the condition. What is the condition? Loan taken on or after 1st April 1999. Okay, these conditions need to be complied with. It should be for purchase or construction, not for repair. Completed within 5 years from the end of the financial year, and the lender certificate must be obtained. Then only one can claim interest up to 2 lakh rupees. Now, is it clear when it is 2 lakh rupees?
Yes, sir.
Now, next question is when it is 30,000. Okay, now you see next condition. When it is acquired, constructed, repaired, renewed, or reconstructed, but before 1/4/99. When before 1/4/99, that is one situation. Or even if it is on or after 1/4/99, it is not for construction, it is for repair, renewed, or reconstruction. Then it will be limited to 30,000. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. That means, sir, basically the cutoff date is 1/4/99.
1/4/99 is the cutoff date. If the loan is sanctioned before that for construction, repair, or for anything, construction, repair, purchase, anything, before 1/4/99, it is always 30,000. If it is after 1/4/99, it is
2 lakhs.
2 lakh if it is for this, if conditions are met, that is purchase or for construction. But if it is for repair, renewal, or reconstruction, then even if it is on or after 1/4/29, 1/4/99, then also the limit is 30,000 rupees. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Is it clear? This additional point you need to keep in mind. Okay, many people just think that before 1/4/99 it is 30,000, after 1/4/99 on or after 1/4/99 99, it is 2 lakh rupees. But there is a catch here. The catch is that even if it is after 1/99 and the loan is taken for repair, renewal, or reconstruction, then also interest allowed maximum up to 30,000. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. This co-ownership property we are discussing. If it is self-occupied, then one can claim 2 lakh rupees or 30,000 rupees. But the per person aggregate amount is same 2 lakh and 30,000 rupees. Co-owned property or non-co-owned property taken together. Okay,
Yes, sir.
right? Is it clear? This is what we discussed when the co-owned property is self-owned. But when the co-owned property is let out, how to deal with that? If it is let out, it is a co-owned property. But if it is let out, the income from such property shall be computed as if property is owned by one owner. So you have to assume that there is one owner, okay, and it is let out. So we'll compute the income. After that, once income from house property is computed, treating the property as one owner, then that same income needs to be apportioned on the basis of specific shares. Okay, suppose it is 50-50 share, then income needs to be apportioned among the 50-50 ratio. If it is 40-60 in that ratio, that income needs to be apportioned if it is let out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, some connected point also let us discuss relating to income from house property. There is a possibility that income from house property can be negative. You are agreeing to it or not? You have seen so many deductions are there, and because
Yes,
of
sir.
the deductions, there is a possibility that income can be negative. In that situation, we'll call it's not income from house property, it is a loss from house property. Isn't it? Loss is possible when permissible deductions are more than the net annual value. Okay. And you already know, in case of self-occupied house property, this loss can be maximum up to 2 lakh rupees.
Yes, sir.
Because no other deduction is allowed, only one deduction is allowed, that is interest on borrowed capital. And maximum cap is 2 lakh rupees. That is in case of self-occupied. But let out property, there is no cap. Okay, there is no cap. But in 1 year, we can take, in case of let out house property, you can set up maximum up to 2 lakh amount of loss. That means the extra loss, even if it is allowed, it will not be allowed in the same year. It will be carried forward to the subsequent years. One can carry it forward for 8 assessment years. This also we have discussed earlier. Okay. Now, loss. What is the loss? Permissible deductions minus net annual value is the amount of loss. This can be set off against income from any other house property. That means if someone is having property A and property B, and property A, there is an income of 1 lakh rupees. Property B, there is a loss of 80,000 rupees. So this can be set off. That means overall his income from house property will be only 20,000 rupees. Did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this can be set off against income from other house. Okay, and if it could not be set off, the unobserved loss can be set off against income of any other head. Let us say it is unobserved. So one house property, there is a loss of 1 lakh. Another house property, there is a profit of 80,000. Then what is the overall loss or profit? Did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
What is the overall situation? One house property, there is a loss of 1 lakh rupees. Other house property, there is a profit of 1 loss of 1 lakh rupees. Other house property, there is a profit of 80,000. Income of 80,000. Income from house. Then what is the total income under that income from house property?
20,000.
Sir,
So that is the income or loss?
Loss 20,000.
Loss 1 lakh, income 80,000,
Loss 20,000.
loss 20,000. So this
Yes,
loss could not be absorbed, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Because loss is more than the profit. So it could not be adjusted against any other house. Then what can be done? It can be adjusted against other head. Suppose there is a salary income of 5 lakh rupees. With that 5 lakh rupees, that can be reduced. The 20,000 will be reduced. So ultimately, your total income will be 4,80,000.
80,000.
Did you understand?
Yes,
So
sir.
first thing is that loss of house property can be set off against income from any other house property. Unobserved loss can be set off against the income of any other head. Just like just now we set up it against salary, it can be adjusted against any other head in the same year. Okay, if the same year there is income from some other head, it can be adjusted there. But if that is not possible, still some unobserved loss is there, then what you can do? The remaining unobserved loss can be carried forward and set off for forward for set off for subsequent 8 assessment years. That means you can carry forward loss and set up in the coming year, if not possible in the next year. So like this one can carry forward for 8 assessment year, but when you are setting up, it can be set up only against the head income from house. There you cannot set it off against any other head. You have to, if there is profit under the head income from house property, then only you will be able to set. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, very good. Okay. Now, one more connected point also we need to remember. These are the houses which are in fact exempted. You will not have any income under that income from house property if the building is of this nature. Like farmhouse, there are certain provisions are there. Farmhouse, agricultural farmhouse, etc. Building owned by an educational or charitable institution, that is also exempt. So different. If this is section 10(1), this is section 11 and section 10, 20C, 23C. Then you see this building owned by trade unions, then building owned by political parties, then building owned by local authorities, building owned by approved scientific institution. These are exempted buildings. Just keep it in your mind. There may be some buildings which are exempted. Okay. Now, one more connected point regarding house property when you link it to the residential status. In case a person is a resident in India, a resident means if he can be a resident, that is resident and ordinary resident. In case of individual nature, the income from house property situated outside India is taxable, whether income is brought into India or not. As you know, when the person is resident, then his entire global income is taxable. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Once is resident, the entire global income is taxable. What is residential status and what is the taxability of various residential statuses? Our previous videos are available. Those who are joined class late, those who have not attended those classes, may refer to those videos regarding residential status. There we have already discussed that if someone is resident, his global income, that whatever income he is having throughout the world, will be taxable in India. Even when it is brought to, even if it is not brought into India. Therefore, if someone is a resident and he has got a house property outside India, irrespective of the fact whether he is bringing that income to India or not, that house property will be taxable in India. Okay. And if that person is non-resident or resident but not ordinary resident, non-resident or resident but not ordinary resident, income from house property situated in India will be taxable only if he is received in India. So for non-resident and not ordinary residents, income is taxable in India when it is received in India or when it is accrued in India. So their foreign house property income, if it is received in India, then only it is taxable. Otherwise, it is not taxable. Whether this point is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this thing also you need to learn. Okay. one more related points. That is about composite rent. Composite rent means sometimes people charge composite rent. That means house rent plus for certain services or for certain facilities. House rent plus generator rent. House rent for maintenance charges, for lift rent, like this. Okay. So composite rent means rent includes building rent as well as for different services. If composite rent is received, then it needs to be split off in the following manner. How it is to split up? If it is possible to split up, then that has to split up. And the sum which is attributable for property is to be assessed under that income from house. Okay, that is a building rent plus lift maintenance charges. To composite rent is charged. So we need to segregate how much is for building, how much is for lift maintenance, which is attributable to the building, that has to be taxed under the head income from house. And some attributable to use of services has to be charged either under the head profit and gains of business or profession, or under the head income from other sources. Okay, either PGBP or IFOS. These are the two sources where other sums attributable shall be taxed. Is it clear?
Sir, क्या आप एक example दे सकते हैं?
Sorry.
Sir, example.
Example. Let us say one house owner is charging rent of 10,500 rupees. 10,000 rupees is for house building, and 500 rupees is for generator services when it's provided. So the 10,000 rupees will be taxed under the head income from house property, and 500 rupees will be, if it is a regular business of the service provider, then it is profit and gains from business or profession. It is not regular, incidentally some income is getting, then it is income from other sources.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Treatment of composite rent. Now some other complexities we are going to add to that. Okay. Now question arises how to split it. I told you it has to split it. If it is split it, then you can find out under which head it is taxed. Now how to split up? Now let us think. Let us discuss that thing. If let out building and other assets are inseparable, let us say the owner is letting out building as well as the furniture. If it is separable, it is fine. Then we can tax it under two different heads. But if it is inseparable, in which situation we will say it is inseparable? Situation is like that. Suppose the owner is not agreeing to give the rent, give the house only as rent. That means owner has a condition. The person who is going to take house, he has to also take the rent. In that situation, it is inseparable. Even if there are two separate agreements for house rent, for furniture rent, but if the condition is that you cannot take house alone or you cannot take furniture alone, you have to take both the things, then you can say it is inseparable. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if the two lettings are not separable, when it is not separable, that is the other party does not accept letting out the building without other asset, then rent is taxable as business income or income from other sources. Okay. So if it is a composite rent and it is not separable, then the entire rent is taxable as what? Business income or income from other sources. Okay. Even if there are two separate let out agreements are there, but party is not agreeing to take any one of them. In that situation, we will say this is an inseparable contract. If it is inseparable, then income is not going to be taxed under the head income from house property. It is to be taxed under the head
PGBP and
PGBP
other
or IFOS.
other things.
Is it clear? When it is not separable,
Yes, sir.
right? When it is separable, we know all these things. When it is separable, what do you have to do? Income from letting out the house is the income from house property. Income from letting out other assets or other services, let us say furniture, okay, or let us say any other thing, that will be taxed under the head PGBP or
PGBP.
IFRS. PGBP or IFRS.
Yes, sir.
It can be profit and gains of business of person or income from other sources
Income
as the
from
case.
others.
Okay, did you understand this?
Yes,
How
sir.
it has to be
Yes.
split. This is the trade. Okay, to summarize, if the composite rent on account of rent for the property and service charges. Just now we are discussing about composite rent for house property as well as other assets. But similarly, there is a possibility that composite rent is for house property plus certain services. Then what we have to do? Composite rent needs to be split up. Okay, the amount which is attributable for property, that is to be taxed under that income from house property, which is attributable for services, then that has to be taxed either under the head 28, that is chargeable either under the section 28 or under the section 56. Meaning it is chargeable either under the head PGBP or
PG.
IFRS,
Income from others.
income from other sources. Okay. So that is
Yes, sir.
also true when the composite rent on account of composite rent includes property rent plus higher charges for machine hire, etc. This also we have discussed. To the extent it is attributable to building, it is income from house property. To the extent it is attributable to some other higher charges, then it is either
PGBP
PGBP or
or
IFRS.
income from others.
And if it is not separable, then what we will do?
All are attributable to the PGBP or income from others.
PGBP or IFRS. Okay, it's not separable means it is not income from house property. Right? Well,
Yes,
friends,
sir.
one more concept. So today we are learning various miscellaneous concepts, small concepts, but all of them are important. All of them are connected to income from house property. Now, this is about TDS. You know, house property, there is a possibility that loss may be incurred under that income from house property. Some persons might be having salary income, and the deductor, the person who is deducting tax from salary, he is also supposed to consider house property loss. Let us say someone is paying salary of 10 lakh rupees, right? And he is supposed to deduct tax at source on that, is it not? While he will
Yes,
deduct
sir.
tax at source, he will be also considering house property loss. That means if the recipient is having some loss under that house property, he has to consider that loss. He will set up that loss. The net amount only he will be deducting. Okay. Let me explain
Okay, sir.
this. Suppose one employer is paying 10 lakh rupees salary to the employee. So employer is supposed to deduct tax at source on that 10 lakh rupees. Okay. 10 lakh rupees, whatever tax. But if the employee says that I have a loss of 2 lakh rupees, employee gives a declaration, I have a loss of 2 lakh rupees from house property, not business loss. Then employer has to consider that loss. That means while deducting on 10 lakh rupees, he will not deduct from 10 lakh rupees, he will say 10 lakh rupees minus loss from house property 2 lakh rupees, on 8 lakh rupees, he has to deduct tax at source. Okay? Is it clear?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And one more connected point also. Interest is deductible under section 24, you already know. It may be up to 2 lakh rupees or maybe without any selling it is deductible. But the principal payment, principal amount which is paid, that is allowed under deduction from gross total income. From gross total income, you know, certain deductions are allowed. Chapter 6 a deduction under section 80C to 80U. Under section 80C, deduction up to 1,50,000 rupees are allowed. So any amount which is paid as principal repayment of housing loan can be deducted under section 80C. Did you understand? Meaning, if the loan is taken for purchase or construction of the house, interest amount can be deducted under section 24 and the principal amount can be deducted under section 80C. Okay. Clear?
Sir, so for interest it is up to 2 lakh and for principal payment it is up to 1,50,000, right?
Yes, for principal payment it is maximum amount is 1,50,000, but for interest it is up to 2 lakh.
Okay,
They are two different. 2 lakh rupees is allowed for the total income. That is all head taken together. You know this thing from gross total income, the deductions are made. 1,50,000. But 2 lakh rupees under a specific head, income from house property, under section 24, you can claim 2 lakh rupees. The figures are different.
yes sir.
Okay, no, please don't link them. And don't ask this question why it is 2 lakh rupees, why it is 1,50,000 rupees. Okay, law has specified two different amounts for two different kind of deductions. Okay, and
Yes,
this
sir.
1,50,000 rupees is over and above that 2 lakh rupees. Okay, 2 lakh rupee deduction you are availing under a particular head. After that, you are computing your gross total income. Then further deduction of 1,50,000 is allowed for principal. This is over and above that. Okay.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so any amount you have spent for purchase and construction of a house, you are paying, you are making principal repayment, that will be allowed. Okay, purchase and construction of house means even if you have paid for stamp duty, for registration expenses, that will also be considered, and that the money is spent for purchase and construction of house. Okay,
Yes,
now
sir.
friends, two more deductions we need to discuss. These are the in fact new deductions which are allowed for the first time homeowners who are purchasing house for the first time. One is section 80EE, new provisions. These are in fact certain deductions chapter. We are learning under simultaneously deductions chapter which are connected to income from house property. We are covering this thing. Okay, otherwise this chapter income from house property we have already completed. But these deductions are relevant to that income. Therefore, we need to discuss all these things. And these are new provisions. Therefore, we need to have an idea. Alright, section 80EE provides a deduction, provides a benefit up to 50,000 rupees. Okay, if the person is having only one house, he can claim an additional deduction of 1,000 rupees for interest paid. Who are the eligible? Assessee must be an individual. Only an individual can claim. Individual must have paid interest for that interest amount that 50,000 rupees is allowed under section 80EE. What are the conditions? First of all, you see, the value of the house should be less than equal to 50 lakh rupees. Okay. So it should be a small house, affordable house. Value of the house should be less than equal to 50 lakh. And the loan sanction should be how much? Less than equal to
35 lakhs.
35 lakhs. Then one more condition. Assessee should not own any residential house on the date of sanction of the loan. That means assessee, when the loan is sanctioned on the that date, assessee should not be holding any other house. This must be his first house. Okay.
तो ये जो 50,000 मिलते हैं वो 2 लाख के बाद 2 लाख ले सकते हैं, फिर उसके बाद 50,000 भी ले सकते हैं.
Yes, it is over and above that 2 lakh.
Okay, sir.
Right, over and above that 2 lakh. But again, I tell you that 2 lakh is under a particular head. But this is overall from gross total income, this deduction. 80E will come after that. Chapter 6 deduction. Right?
Okay,
This
sir.
is over and above that 2 lakh. And one more condition. That condition is that loan should be sanctioned in the previous year, 2016-17. Only when loan is sanctioned in that year, and the loan sanction amount is less than equal to, that is up to 35 lakh. And the value of the house is up to 50 lakh rupees. And assessee is the owner of only one house. Then only this deduction of 50,000 rupees is allowed. Okay, maximum up to 50 lakh rupees till the repayment of loan continues. Period of benefit is the till the repayment of loan every year 50,000 you can claim. And this is your query is also addressed here. the deduction of 50,000 rupees under this section is over and above the deduction up to 2 lakh rupees available under section 20. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
It is over and above, you have to remember. Okay. Just a minute. This, just remember this thing. This is 50,000 rupees is over and above the limit of 2 lakh rupees. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Now there is one more similar section. You might be asking, wondering what is the difference. This is one more new section. What is this section? Can you read it? Section
80 EEA.
80 EEA. One more deduction is allowed. Oh, not yeah. One more deduction is allowed, but with the condition that this person should not be availing the earlier deduction. Okay. So this deduction is available for which houses? Can you read it here? It is called affordable houses. And the loan sanctioned during the period 1/4/19 to 31st March 21. Okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, affordable housing means?
I'll be explaining that thing. The affordable house is fine. Then additional amount of deduction is 1,50,000 rupees. Under 80 EE, how much? 50,000. 80 EEA, how much? 1,50,000. This is above 2 lakh rupees under section 20. Okay. What is affordable house? Affordable house means the value of the house is up to, can you read it here? Last line.
45 lakh.
45 lakh. Under 80 EE, amount was how much? 50 lakh.
50 lakh. Yes, sir.
Okay, 50 lakh, 50,000. This is 45 lakh and 1,50,000 is the interest rate.
Okay.
Okay. Who can claim? Individuals for residential house who has purchased the house or who have taken the loan from financial institution. Interest will be allowed, and these are the condition. Condition, you see, stamp duty value of the house is less than equal to 45 lakh.
45 lakh.
Individuals should not be eligible to claim deduction under 80 EE. Those who are claiming deduction under that year, 80 EE, they cannot claim here. And the loan should be sanctioned from the financial institution between 1/4/2019 to 31st March 2021. And individuals should not own any residential house at the date of sanction of the loan. If these conditions are met, then additional 1,50,000 which will be allowed. Okay, additional 1,50,000 over and above the deduction which are allowed under section 20. Okay, is it clear? These are the two new provisions, in fact,
Yes, sir.
80E and 80EA, which are in fact in your deduction chapter, but purposefully we covered it here because all the provisions relating to house property we wanted to cover at one place. Is it okay? Understood up to this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And here one more provision. I have told you many times earlier, but one more thing I wanted you should keep in the mind. You see, you already know interest on borrowed capital up to 2 lakh rupees maximum is allowed for self-occupied house property. If it is let out property, then how much is allowed? Interest on borrowed capital.
2 lakh.
2 lakh rupees for self-occupied house property. Under section 24, how it is allowed for let out house property? Sorry? Without any selling, is it not? Without any selling, there is no limit under section 24B. But Sorry, couldn't hear you properly. Will you please repeat?
He's
Well,
saying that the entire amount will be allowed.
sorry, entire amount will be allowed, right? If property is let out without any limit, any amount of interest could be allowed under section 24B. But one more thing, section 71(3)(a) restricts the amount of loss from house property to be set up against any other head of income up to 2 lakh rupees. That is why, if because of interest, house property loss is more than 2 lakh rupees, maximum we can set up to 2 lakh rupees, and the remaining amount can be carried forward to subsequent years. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So can you please repeat this part?
I couldn't hear you properly, but still, let me repeat it, what I told just now. Please read this paragraph. You read, I will also helping you. In respect of self-occupied house property, interest deduction under section 24B is restricted to 2 lakh rupees. In case of let out or deemed to be let out property, even if there is no limit under section 24B, that means without any selling event limit, section 71(3)(a) restricts the amount of such loss of the house property to be set off against other head of income, maximum of 2 lakh rupees. So that is why even if allowed, I told you at that time, when you file the return, you will find out that maximum 2 lakh rupees is allowed, because the remaining amount can be carried forward to subsequent years to be settled. Okay, can you carry? Okay. So in addition to that, so if you are unable to adjust the interest here under section 24, under section 24B, then what you can do? This point explains that. Accordingly, if interest payable in respect of acquisition of eligible house property is more than 2 lakh rupees, the excess can be claimed under section 80EEA. Excess amount can be claimed. Because 24, even if there is no selling, but because of 71(3)(a), it is restricted. So excess amount can be claimed under section 80EEA, provided other conditions are fulfilled. Just keep this thing in the mind under section 80EEA. Another, this is in fact another deduction. Then another 1,50,000 rupees, up to 1,50,000 rupees can be availed as deduction. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you compare these three sections, 24B, 80EE, and 80EE, 24B reduction up to 2 lakh rupees for self-occupied house property, and entire amount for let out property. 80EE, additional amount of 50,000 rupees. Additional means in addition to 24B. Okay, for the first time home borrowers, for the loan sanctioned between this period, and the value of the house property should be within 50 lakh rupees. 80EEA, additional reduction up to rupees 1.5 lakh for the first time home buyers, but loan should be sanctioned during this period up to 31st March 2020. And 80EEA cannot be claimed if section 80EE is claimed. Okay, so this is the summary of these three sections. Did you understand?
Sir, in third case, written only up to 31st March means all the loans which are sanctioned before the 31st March, right?
Third case, I told you, this is from 1st April 19 to 31st March 29.
So this
This
is
is the
for
bit.
80EE.
This is
I'm
section
asking for
80EEA. 80EE. 80EE. 80EE is for 16, 17
Okay.
facts previous year.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So for let out houses under section 24B, sir, there's no limit on the on the amount of interest.
There is no limit under section 24B.
For let out houses.
Yes.
So it could be maybe 1 crore or even more than that.
Yes.
Whatever is the amount.
Whatever is
allowed.
the thing, it is
Allowed.
okay.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay,
is-
thank you.
But you have to remember one more thing again. Even if any amount is allowed, but again I told you, but you cannot set off more on this. There is one more section in addition to 24B. You see this section, that is 71(3)(a). But loss is restricted to 2 lakh rupees. That means suppose you can say, suppose your interest amount from a let out house is 10 lakh rupees. Okay. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Suppose if there is a let out house and the interest loss is because 2 lakh rupees. So interest loss is 10 lakh rupees. So entire 10 lakh rupees allowed under section 24B. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Suppose because of which the house property loss is now 8 lakh rupees. 8 lakh rupees loss you cannot set off in the same year. Maximum you can again set off 2 lakh rupees. And the remaining 6 lakh rupees you can carry forward. And in subsequent 8 assessment years, you'll be able to set off that.
So that set off is allowed only up to an amount of 2 lakhs, like under the head of house property, other
Yes.
house property.
Yes. House property loss up to 2 lakh rupees can be set up in India.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Is it clear to you? Yeah. And from one practical point, you see various income tax return forms are available. Those who are filing income tax return must be knowing. And one is ITR 1 form. If you are having only one house, then you need to file ITR 1. You may manage filing ITR 1. If you are having more than one houses, then you need to file ITR 2. Okay, so this is the form which needs to be used. So friends, with this, we have completed this chapter, income from house property. I think fairly we have covered the entire thing, which is required, which is expected. And if you have any query, then quickly let me know. Otherwise, we'll stop our today's show here. We'll catch up next class, maybe with some other chapter. Any query you have?
Sir, which one chapter you'll be teaching next?
Or what are the chapters which has already been taught to you? Please let me know. Just a minute. Okay then. Thank you. So next class we'll plan to start with the new chapter. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, friends.